Developing leaders is essential to the growth of any company or entity. How do you work with your top leaders to continuously challenge them, stretch them, and facilitate growth and fend off the killer business cancer known as complacency? Hello again, fellow leaders, and welcome back to Project Eli, where we educate, lead, and inspire. Eli's dad here, and please, don't call me ED. Complacency is a disease that is most prevalent in creating a downward spiral in many companies. Today, we will focus on developing your leaders and keeping them moving forward. This will serve to inoculate your team from this dreaded disease and, from a more positive perspective, position your company to continue its growth. Place your ear on the keyhole as I teach Eli in the next room. Eli, when you stop and think about it, everyone has benefited from the universal laws at some point in their life. When they did benefit, it became an experience that they remember. Now keep in mind that how they achieved their goal, whether they consciously or unconsciously utilized these laws, it involved a process. Dream, obsess, model, trial and error, overcome obstacles, maintaining the view of the big picture, success. Sit down with each of your leaders and find out what is important to them. Have a dialogue about family, sports, projects, hobbies, desires, and dreams, and so on. Listen carefully and jot down some notes after your dialogue. Bob Anderson will refer to uncovering these hidden motivations as using their motives against them for them. For example, in a challenging time, he might ask, "Are you a hypocrite, or do you really want that 3-bedroom house?" He made us think, is my current activity going to bring me closer to that goal? What activity will bring me closer to that house by the lake? It's an effective refocus tool. And one of Mr. Anderson's favorite mantras was irritate, aggravate, agitate, motivate. Another method is to ask your leaders to describe in great detail the 2 or 3 things that they are most proud of achieving. The what, the how, the when, and so on. Is there anything they can take from these achievements that can be applied at work? Ask your leaders to pretend that they're making a lateral move in your field or industry. This time, however, they are the PIC, the person in charge. What changes would they make in the operation? Have them be as specific as possible, as in all aspects as they possibly can. You can also create a bragging board. Have each of your leaders brag about something they did or caused to happen. It doesn't have to be business related. And or have a risk board where your leaders offer examples of things they tried, whether they were successful or not. You might want to have the visual in the shape of a giraffe to show who really stuck their neck out. Another way to stimulate is to have a book of the month. Assign a different leader each month to choose and obtain the books for the group. That person would also lead the discussion and give assignments related to the book to ignite imagination and creativity. The book does not need to be business related. Now, these are just some of the creative ways to stimulate your leaders. There are, of course, videos and tapes, seminars, a great tool, and special guests. You see, Eli, the major point here is that leadership is tied into personal growth, and that personal growth is a process that is continuous. When you see a phrase or hear a line that is interesting, mention it in passing, or better yet, hang it on a doorway. You'll find that your leaders-to-be will also stimulate you with new ideas and paradigms. For example, you think it would be important for a baby boomer to understand a little bit about a millennial's or a Generation Y's thoughts and motivations? When you are constantly learning and growing, you are making progress. That is the elixir of life. Too many people are coasters. Remember, a coaster is something you put on a table to prevent a stain. Be the elixir. As a leader, do everything in your power to grow yourself and create the right climate in which others can grow. It's a leader's best investment. Excellence has the potential to spread in the same way that mediocrity does. The positives or negatives of a group always begin with one. When you get better, so will others. When you have your leadership growth meetings, Eli, make sure that you schedule it when you'll not be disturbed. Now, I like to schedule it before the day began. I might have some sort of a nosh, that's a Yiddish term for a snack, and some coffee before we started. But once the meeting started, however, it was a meeting, not an eating. No beverages either. You know I hate coasters. I encourage you to let a different leader chair the meeting each time. Always sit in the back of the room or at the back of the table. When the leader is in the room, people's attention is always focused on that person unless they are out of the line of sight. Always make sure the meeting ends on a positive and/or an intelligence challenging note. Some sort of tape recording device is mandatory equipment at this or any other meeting. You never know when an epiphany inspiring statement or dialogue will take place, and you must position yourself to capture it. Let's talk about meetings. Teach your people that whenever they have a meeting, the leader of the meeting should have an outcome of the meeting in mind. Now, that doesn't mean that the leader should make the decision before the meeting, but it should be clear that a particular topic is to be discussed. It's a good idea to express the purpose of the meeting to all attendees beforehand. This makes for a more concise and prepared meeting for all of the participants. It's also not a bad idea to have a designated person to help keep the meeting on topic, because conversations frequently wander. Now, this assignment usually is given to the leader of the meeting. Have a time limit in your meetings. If the discussion is so stimulating that it needs to be continued, set an additional time to continue. This allows for reflection and additional insight. Now, you know, Eli, leadership is such a giant topic that it's difficult to categorize or organize every scenario. In our next session, I will relate to you several different viewpoints that you can reference to help you solve and avoid some of the common unsolved opportunities that you will encounter as a leader. To ensure that you don't miss that session, remember to subscribe and ring the bell. And remember that sharing is caring. And don't forget to check the description box. Our thought for the day is related to the unpleasant circumstance of having a negative individual in your organization. It goes like this. The laws of nature would be violated should the soil refuse to produce or grow poisonous plants. And because we never end a meeting on a philosophical note, let's get out there and charge. I'm Eli's dad.